The massive space station hung in the void like a jewel made of metal and light. Ships from every corner of the galaxy docked at its countless bays. Inside the grand conclave, beings of all shapes and sizes filled the enormous chamber. Some walked, on two legs like humans. Others floated in special tanks filled with gas. A few had tentacles instead of arms. Commander Ji-Wan Park sat in the small section marked for Earth. Her dark uniform looked plain next to the colorful robes and strange armor worn by other delegates. Next to her sat Dr. Hansel Kim, a thin man with worried eyes. Ambassador Minji Lee, an older woman with gray hair, reviewed her notes one last time. "They will listen to reason," Minji whispered. "They have to." Ji-Wan was not so sure. The looks they got from other delegates were not friendly. Whispers followed them wherever they walked. The word human was always spoken with disgust. The speaker, a tall blue creature with 4 arms, called for silence. Its voice echoed through the chamber, using hidden speakers. "We gather today to vote on Resolution 2847X, the speaker announced. The complete removal of the human species from all galactic territories. A wave of excited chatter filled the room. Some delegates nodded their approval. Others seemed uncomfortable. Ji-Wan felt her heart sink. The Zilani ambassador stood up. He was tall and thin with pale skin and black eyes. His people controlled 1/3 of the galaxy. When he spoke, others listened. "Honored delegates," he began, his voice smooth and cold. "For too long, we have allowed this aggressive species to spread through our peaceful galaxy. Humans are violent by nature. They fight wars over small pieces of land. They poison their own world with chemicals. They cannot be trusted." Murmurs of agreement came from many sections. Ji-Wan wanted to stand up and argue, but Minji held her arm. "Look at their history," the Zilani continued. "They have been on their world for only a few thousand years. In that short time they have killed millions of their own kind. They have destroyed countless species of animals. They take what they want without asking." Dr. Hansel shifted in his seat. He had spent years studying other species, learning their cultures. He knew humans were not perfect, but they were not monsters either. "Now they spread to our worlds," the Zilani said, his voice growing louder. "They bring their violence with them. They change our peaceful cultures. They make everything about competition and war. We must stop them before it is too late." The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates cheered. Others argued among themselves. A few species that had worked with humans looked uncomfortable. The speaker called for order. "The human delegation may now respond." Minji stood up slowly. She was older than most delegates, but her voice was strong and clear. "Honored friends," she began. "We stand here today not as conquerors but as neighbors. Yes, humanity has made mistakes. We have fought wars. We have damaged our world. But we have also learned from these mistakes." She paused and looked around. The chamber. Some delegates were listening. Others had already made up their minds. "We have spent 50 years among you," Minji continued. "In that time, we have helped build hospitals on Kepler 442b. We have shared our farming knowledge with the Andromedans. We have fought beside the Tau Cetians against the Vorthak Raiders. We have proven that we can change." Dr. Hansel stood up next. His voice shook a little, but he spoke with passion. "I have lived on 17 different worlds," he said. "I have learned 12 alien languages. I have made friends with beings I never could have imagined. We are not the monsters you think we are. We are explorers. We are learners. We want to be part of this great galactic community." Some delegates nodded. Others remained stone-faced. Ji-Wan could see that minds were already made up. Commander Ji-Wan stood last. She was a soldier, not a diplomat. Her words were simple and direct. "You judge us by our past," she said. "That is fair. But judge us also by our present. Judge us by the humans who have died protecting your worlds. Judge us by the children we have saved. Judge us by the friendships we have built." She looked directly at the Zilani ambassador. "If you banish us, you will not have peace. You will have shown the galaxy that fear is stronger than hope. That prejudice is stronger than friendship. Is that the galaxy you want to build? The chamber fell silent. For a moment it seemed like her words might have made a difference. Then the Zelani stood again. Beautiful words, he said with a cold smile. But words cannot change nature. Humans are violent, they always will be. The vote must proceed. The voting process was slow and formal. Each species had to announce their choice. The first few votes went against humanity. Then some voted in favor. Jiwan began to hope, but as the voting continued, the pattern became clear. The large, powerful empires voted against humanity. The smaller, peaceful species voted for them. But there were not enough small species to win. The final count, the speaker announced. 523 votes for banishment. 324 votes against. Resolution 2847X passes. The chamber exploded in noise. Some delegates cheered. Others sat in shocked silence. A few walked out in protest. Jiwan felt numb. 50 years of friendship and cooperation had been destroyed in one vote. Hansel put his head in his hands. Minji sat very still, staring at nothing. The speaker called for order one last time. The human species has 30 galactic standard days to remove all citizens from non-Earth territories. Any humans found after this deadline will be arrested and expelled by force. Jiwan stood up slowly. The chamber grew quiet as she prepared to speak. Her voice was calm, but there was something dangerous in her eyes. You have made your choice, she said. You have chosen fear over friendship. You have chosen prejudice over progress. You believe that banishing us will make you safer. She paused and looked around the chamber one last time. You may regret this decision more than we will. With that, the three humans walked out of the chamber. Behind them, the delegates began to argue about what would happen next. None of them noticed the small smile on Jiwan's face as she left. The vote was over. Humanity had lost. But Commander, Jiwan Park knew something the other delegates did not. This was not the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The news spread through human space faster than light itself. On every human world, on every space station, the same message played over and over. All humans must return to Earth territory within 30 days. Admiral Hyunwoo Choi stood on the bridge of the battleship Incheon. Through the large windows he could see the massive fleet gathering around him. Hundreds of ships filled the space near Alpha Centauri. Some were military vessels like his own. Most were cargo ships and passenger transports ready to carry millions of people home. Admiral, his aide reported, Captain Yoon's civilian fleet is ready to begin evacuation of the outer colonies. Hyunwoo nodded. Captain Soo-Young Yoon was the best person for this job. She had spent years moving people and supplies between human worlds. If anyone could organize this massive exodus, it was her. On the planet below, families packed their entire lives into small boxes. Children who had never seen Earth prepared to leave the only home they had ever known. Many were crying. Some were angry. All were confused about why this was happening to them. Soo-Young's voice came through the communication system. All civilian transports, this is Captain Yoon. We will begin loading passengers in Sector 7. Families with children board first. Everyone else will follow in order. The evacuation had been planned for years, though no one had hoped they would need to use it. Every human world had evacuation procedures. Every ship captain knew their role. It was like a giant dance that had been practiced many times in secret, but the aliens did not know about the secret parts. On a hidden asteroid base, engineer Tae Hyun-oh worked frantically in his laboratory. Around him, his team assembled strange devices that no alien had ever seen. They looked like normal ship parts, but they were much more than that. How many more do we need? Asked his assistant, Curie. Every ship needs one. Taehyun replied, not looking up from his work. And every base, every station, every important location. The Admiral's orders are clear. These devices were part of Project Horizon, humanity's most secret program. For 10 years, Earth's best scientists had been preparing for this day. They had hoped it would never come, but they were ready. The project had begun after the first alien raids on human colonies. Some species had tested humanity's defenses. thinking humans were weak and easy targets. They had learned otherwise, but the message was clear. Not everyone in the galaxy was friendly. So humanity had prepared in secret. They had built hidden bases in empty star systems. They had created new technologies that no alien had ever seen. They had trained special forces in tactics that would surprise any enemy. Most importantly, they had learned to work together in ways that other species could not imagine. On the world of Kepler 442b, families said goodbye to their alien friends. Many aliens were sad to see the humans go. The Andromedans, especially, were upset. Humans had helped them learn new farming techniques that had ended hunger on their world. "This is wrong," said Andromedan's leader Veltar, using the translation device to speak to the evacuating humans. "You are our friends. You have helped us many times." Maria Santos, a human farmer, hugged the tall, blue-skinned alien. "We will not forget you," she said. "And maybe someday we will meet again." But not all aliens were sad. On many worlds, local species celebrated as humans packed their belongings. They believed they were getting rid of a dangerous problem. They thought they would be safer without humans around. They were very wrong. Back in space, Admiral Hyunwoo received a coded message on his personal communicator. The message was short. "Horizon Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. He turned to his communications officer. "Send message. To all fleet commanders. Execute Protocol 7. Throughout the fleet, special teams began their work. They attached Taehyun's devices to key systems on every ship. To anyone watching, it looked like normal maintenance. In reality, they were preparing for something no alien could imagine. The evacuation continued for weeks. Every day, more ships left human colonies and headed for Earth. The aliens watched with satisfaction, thinking their plan was working perfectly. But they did not see the small ships that left human space in different directions. These ships carried no passengers and sent no signals. They simply disappeared into the dark space between stars. Their crews were volunteers who knew they might never see home again. Some aliens did notice strange things happening. Shipping companies reported odd delays in their supply routes. A few alien merchants said their ships' computers had been acting strangely. Military patrols found strange energy readings in empty space, but when they investigated, they found nothing. Captain Yoon finished loading the last civilian transport from New Seoul. As her ship pulled away from the planet, she looked back at the cities humans had built there. Beautiful towers reached toward the sky. Parks and gardens covered the land between them. It looked like paradise. "Captain," her first officer said quietly, "are we really never coming back?" Yoon smiled sadly. "We're coming back," she said. "But not the way they expect." On Earth, President Nyan Kang met with her military leaders in a room deep underground. The walls were covered with star maps and tactical displays. Red dots showed where human colonies were being evacuated. Blue dots showed where alien forces were stationed. "How long until the evacuation is complete?" she asked. 18 more days, General Min Ho Shin replied. "But the real work is just beginning." Nyan nodded. She had been president during the best years of human expansion. Now she would lead humanity through its darkest time. But she was not afraid. Humanity had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. They would survive this, too. In the outer colonies, the last human ships prepared to leave. But before they departed, they activated systems that had been hidden for years. On worlds throughout human space, automated factories began to work. Underground bunkers sealed themselves and went dark. Sensor networks that aliens had never detected came online. The galaxy thought it was getting rid of the human problem. Instead, it was about to discover what humans could really do when they had nothing left to lose. As the final transport ship left Alpha Centauri, Engineer Taehyun sent one last message to Admiral Hyunwoo. "All systems ready. Humanity will not be forgotten." The evacuation was complete, but for humanity the real work was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the last human ship left the outer colonies. The galaxy had settled into a new normal. Trade routes that once passed through human space now took longer paths around Earth's territory. The Galactic Council congratulated itself on solving the human problem without violence. On Earth, President Naeun Kang stood in the newly built command center beneath Geneva. The massive room hummed with activity as thousands of technicians worked at holographic displays. Data flowed in from across human space and beyond, but no alien knew these networks existed. "Status report," Naeun said to General Minho Shin, who approached with a tablet in his hands. "All colonies report successful transition to deep protocols," Minho replied. "The aliens think our worlds are empty, but our automated systems are working perfectly. Production is actually higher than before the evacuation." It was true. The worlds that aliens believed were abandoned were actually busier than ever. Robotic factories worked day and night, building things no alien had ever seen. Underground cities housed skeleton crews of human volunteers who had chosen to stay behind in secret. Dr. Yunji Bei walked over from her section of the command center. Her team had been working around the clock for months, and it showed in her tired eyes, but she was smiling. "Madam President," she said excitedly, "you need to see this." She led them to a large display showing a three-dimensional map of space near Proxima Centauri. Strange symbols marked several locations that meant nothing to the others, but everything to Yunji. "We found them," she announced. "The ruins on Proxima Centauri B are not just old buildings. They are a technology archive left by a species that died out millions of years ago." Naeun leaned forward, interested. "What kind of technology?" "Advanced beyond anything in the current galaxy," Yunji replied. "Faster-than-light communication that cannot be detected. Weapons that can disable entire fleets without destroying them. Most importantly, manufacturing techniques that can build almost anything from basic materials." General Minho understood immediately. "How long to implement this technology?" "My teams have been reverse engineering it for 3 months," Yunji said. "We should have working prototypes within 2 weeks. Full production within 2 months." This was better news than Naeun had hoped for. Project Horizon had always been about survival, but this discovery could change everything. Across the galaxy, aliens were beginning to notice strange things. The Vorthak hegemony, a warlike species that had often raided peaceful worlds, reported mysterious attacks on their shipping. Their cargo vessels would simply stop working, floating dead in space until rescue ships arrived. The crews were always unharmed, but confused and frightened. "There are no weapon marks," reported Vorthak Commander Grothak to his superiors. "No energy signatures, no debris. The ships just stop." Similar reports came from other aggressive species. The Zephyrian Empire lost 3 entire patrol fleets in the same way. The ships were found days later, completely undamaged but totally without power. Their crews had no memory of what happened. The peaceful species noticed different changes. The Andromedans found packages of advanced farming equipment appearing on their worlds overnight. No one knew where they came from, but the technology was far beyond anything they had seen before. Crop yields doubled almost immediately. The Tau Zetians discovered new medical supplies in their hospitals. Diseases that had plagued them for centuries began to disappear. Again, no one could explain where the supplies came from or who was providing them. In the Grand Conclave, the Zelani ambassador was growing worried. He had expected human space to become quiet and empty after the banishment. Instead, strange energy readings were detected throughout the galaxy. Some of his agents reported seeing ships that matched no known design. "Are you certain these readings are not human?" he asked his intelligence chief. "Impossible," the chief replied. "All human technology is catalogued. These energy signatures are completely different. They must be from some unknown species." The Zelani were not the only ones confused. Across the galaxy, military forces reported similar mysteries. Ships that appeared and disappeared without using any known form of faster-than-light travel. Energy beams that could disable entire fleets without causing permanent damage. Most disturbing of all, their own communication networks sometimes carried messages they had not sent. On Earth, Taehyun-Oh worked with a new team in a laboratory that had not existed 6 months earlier. The ancient technology from Proxima Centauri had given humanity tools they had never dreamed of. Manufacturing devices that could build anything at the atomic level. Power sources that drew energy from the quantum foam of space itself. Computers that thought faster than any organic brain. The first production ships are ready, he reported to Admiral Hyunwoo during their weekly meeting. They look like standard cargo vessels, but they can outrun and outfight anything in the galaxy. How many? Hyunwoo asked. 50 this month. 500 next month. By the end of the year, we'll have more ships than the rest of the galaxy combined. But ships were only part of humanity's preparation. In hidden bases throughout the solar system, humans trained for a kind of warfare that no alien species understood. They practiced fighting as a single organism, with every person knowing their exact role in complex operations. They learned to use technology that responded to their thoughts as quickly as their hands. Most importantly, they planned. Human strategists studied every alien military force in the galaxy. They identified weaknesses that the aliens themselves did not know they had. They developed tactics that would seem like magic to species that had grown soft from centuries of peace. The galaxy's aggressive species had made a fatal mistake. They had assumed that banishing humanity would make them safer. Instead, they had given humanity time to become something far more dangerous than they had ever been. President Neon received a special report from her intelligence services. Their hidden networks had intercepted communications from across the galaxy. The message was always the same. Strange ships, impossible technology, attacks that came from nowhere. They're starting to panic, reported Intelligence Director Young-Ho Park. The Vorthak have doubled their military patrols. The Zephyrians are demanding answers from the Galactic Council. Even the Zilani are asking questions they don't want to ask. Neon nodded. It was time for the next phase. Send word to Admiral Hyunwoo, she said. Begin Operation Awakening. Far from Earth, in a star system that appeared empty on all alien maps, something stirred. Automated factories that had slept for months began to hum with activity. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid fields powered up their engines. Communication networks that spanned the galaxy carried a single message to every human in the cosmos. The message was simple. Humanity remembers. The galaxy had wanted humanity gone. Soon they would discover that humanity had never really left. They had just been getting ready to return. The Vorthak hegemony had waited long enough. With humanity gone from the galaxy, they saw their chance to expand their territory. 3 peaceful worlds lay in their path. Kepler 186f, home to the gentle Nalari, Ross 128b, where the artistic Quillians lived, and Proxima Centauri C, inhabited by the scholarly Ethans. Warlord Kreshatar commanded the invasion fleet from his massive dreadnought. Around him, 200 warships prepared to attack worlds that had no real defenses. The Galactic Council would protest, but they had no military force strong enough to stop him. These worlds were protected by human friendship, Kreshatar growled to his officers. Now they have no friends. They will serve the hegemony or be destroyed. On Kepler 186f, the Nalari watched in terror as the Vorthak fleet approached. Their leader, soft singer Velama, sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council, but help was days away. The Nalari had always been protected by human patrol ships, but those ships were gone now. What do we do? Asked her aide. Our defensive systems are designed for asteroids and solar storms, not warships. Velama looked at the display showing the approaching fleet. We pray for a miracle. The miracle came from an unexpected direction. Commander, Seungmin John sat in the captain's chair of the Soul's Fury, watching the Vorthak fleet through sensors they could not detect. His ship hung in space only a few thousand kilometers away, but it was completely invisible to their instruments. Tactical analysis complete, reported Lieutenant Unicho from her station. 237 vessels. Standard Vorthak design. Heavy armor, plasma weapons, but no quantum shielding. Seungmin nodded. The aliens had not advanced their military technology in centuries. They relied on numbers and brute force, not innovation. Against the old human fleet, that might have worked. Against what humanity had become, it was suicide. Communications, he ordered. Open a channel to the Vorthak flagship. The main screen flickered to life, showing Warlord Kreshtar on his bridge. The alien's reptilian face showed surprise and anger. "What is this?" Kreshtar roared. "How did you get past our sensors?" "I am Commander Sungmin John of the Human Defense Force," Sungmin replied calmly. "You are attacking peaceful worlds. Withdraw immediately." Kreshtar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. "Humans, I thought you were banished from the galaxy. One ship against my entire fleet. You must be insane." "This is your final warning," Sungmin said. "Withdraw now." The alien, Warlord's laughter stopped. His eyes narrowed with hatred. "Destroy that ship." The Vorthak fleet opened fire. Hundreds of plasma bolts and missile warheads streaked toward the Soul's Fury. On the Nalari world below, Velima and her people watched in horror, certain they were about to witness the destruction of their only hope. But the human ship did not explode. The weapons passed through it as if it were not there. "Impossible," Kreshtar screamed. "No technology can do that." Seungmin's voice remained calm. "You were warned." The Soul's Fury flickered and suddenly became visible, but it was not the same ship the Vorthak had been shooting at. This vessel was sleek and deadly, covered in armor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Energy patterns danced across its hull in ways that hurt to look at. "Yuna," Sungmin said quietly. "Disable their fleet." "With pleasure, sir." Lieutenant Yuna's fingers danced across her control interface. The Soul's Fury did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, waves of energy pulsed out from the ship. These waves were invisible and silent, but their effect was immediate. Throughout the Vorthak fleet, every system began to shut down. Engines went dark, weapons powered off. Life support flickered and died. In less than 30 seconds, 237 warships became floating metal coffins. But the crews were not dead. Emergency life support activated on every ship, providing air and heat but nothing else. The Vorthak warriors found themselves trapped in their own vessels, unable to move or fight or escape. On his flagship, Warlord Kreshtar watched his instruments die one by one. Only his communication system remained active, and he used it to scream at the human ship. "What have you done to us?" "Your ships are disabled but not destroyed," Sungmin replied. "Your crews are alive but helpless. Rescue ships will arrive in approximately 6 hours. I suggest you use that time to think about whether attacking peaceful worlds is worth the risk." The Soul's Fury began to move away, but Sungmin was not finished. "One more thing, Warlord. Send a message to every aggressive species in the galaxy. Tell them what happened here today. Tell them that humanity has returned, and we will not allow the innocent to suffer." With that, the human ship vanished again, leaving the Vorthak fleet floating helplessly in space. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone thought possible. Within hours, every government knew that humans had returned with technology that seemed impossible. A single ship had defeated an entire fleet without firing a shot. In the Grand Conclave, the Zilani ambassador paced frantically in his private chambers. His aide brought him reports from across Zilani space. 3 more fleets have gone missing, the aide reported, all in systems where aggressive action was being planned. The ships are found later, disabled but not destroyed. "How many humans are involved?" the ambassador demanded. "Unknown. Our agents report seeing human ships in dozens of different locations, but the energy signatures suggest impossible speeds. Either humans have hundreds of new ships, or the same ships can travel across the galaxy instantly." Both possibilities terrified the Zilani leader. On Earth, Ambassador Kyungsu Lim prepared for his most important mission. He had once been a diplomat in the Galactic Council, but that was before the banishment. Now he served a different purpose. "The message is ready for transmission," reported his communications officer. Kyungsu nodded. "Send it to every government in the galaxy. Make sure they all receive it simultaneously." Across the galaxy, alien leaders received the same transmission. It showed a human they recognized, the former Ambassador Lim, standing in what appeared to be a vast command center filled with advanced technology. "To the governments of the galaxy," Kyungsu began, his voice calm but firm, "you voted to banish us because you feared our potential for violence. You believed that removing us would make the galaxy safer and more peaceful. He paused, letting his words sink in. Instead, you have learned what happens when there is no one to protect the innocent from those who would harm them. The Vorthak, the Zephyrians, and others have grown bold in our absence. They attack peaceful worlds knowing there will be no real consequences. Images appeared behind him showing the disabled Vorthak fleet, floating helplessly in space. We have returned not as conquerors but as protectors. We will not allow the innocent to suffer while we have the power to help them. You wanted us gone. Now face the consequences of what you have become without us. The transmission ended, but its message was clear. Humanity was back, and they were more powerful than anyone had imagined. In hidden bases throughout the galaxy, human agents received new orders. The time for hiding was over. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity had learned during their exile. The age of human protection had begun, whether the galaxy wanted it or not. The 6 most powerful military empires in the galaxy had seen enough. The Zilani Empire, the Draconian Confederacy, the Hegemonic States, the Iron Syndicate, the War Clans, and the Dominion Fleet formed an alliance that had never existed before. Their combined forces represented over half of all military power in the known galaxy. Fleet Admiral Donghae Seo stood in the command center on Earth, watching holographic displays that showed the massive alien armada gathering near the galactic core. 3,000 ships from 6 different species, all united by one goal: destroy humanity before it became even more dangerous. Their strategy is simple, reported Captain Ariam Han, whose stealth ships had been monitoring the alien alliance for weeks. Overwhelming force applied quickly. They plan to attack all human space simultaneously, hoping to end this before we can respond. Donghae nodded grimly. How long until they reach our borders? 48 hours, Ariam replied. But sir, they don't know about our real borders. That was true. The aliens still believed that human space consisted only of the solar system and a few nearby colonies. They had no idea that humanity had been building hidden outposts throughout the galaxy for decades. What looked like empty space on alien maps was actually filled with human installations. Dr. Changmin Wu joined them at the tactical display. His hair was gray from months of working on humanity's most secret project, but his eyes were bright with excitement. The quantum jump drives are ready, he announced. All fleet commanders have been briefed on the new capabilities. The quantum jump drive was humanity's greatest achievement. Using principles learned from the ancient ruins, human ships could now travel instantly between any 2 points in space. Not faster than light. They simply stepped outside normal space entirely and emerged wherever they chose to go. How many ships do we have? Donghae asked. Officially? 1,200 vessels, Changmin replied with a smile. Unofficially, we've been building in hidden shipyards for 8 months. The actual number is classified, but let's just say the aliens will be very surprised. President Nyan Kang arrived as they were reviewing the final battle plans. Her face was grim but determined. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since the banishment vote. The Galactic Council has sent a final demand, she reported. They want us to surrender our advanced technology and submit to galactic oversight. In exchange, they promise not to destroy Earth. Donghae almost laughed. What did you tell them? That humanity does not negotiate with bullies. The alien fleet began its advance. 6 battle groups, each larger than any military force humanity had ever fielded in the old days, moved toward human space from different directions. Their plan was to overwhelm Earth's defenses with superior numbers. Admiral Hyunwoo Choi, now commanding the defense of the solar system, watched the approaching armada with calm eyes. Around Earth, human ships appeared to be in defensive positions. To alien sensors, it looked like humanity was preparing for a desperate last stand. They were wrong. The first alien battle group to reach human space belonged to the Draconian Confederacy. 500 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Pluto, expecting to find a few human patrol vessels. Instead, they found something impossible. Admiral, reported the Draconian sensor officer, There are human ships everywhere, thousands of them. Admiral Vexithera looked at his tactical display in disbelief. The space around Earth was filled with human vessels. Not hundreds, thousands. Ships of designs he had never seen before, arranged in formations that seemed to defy military logic. How is this possible, he demanded. Intelligence reported that humans had perhaps 200 ships total. His intelligence officer was frantically checking his instruments. Sir, these energy signatures don't match any known human technology. Some of these ships appear to be growing. That was exactly what was happening. Using nanoscale manufacturing techniques, human ships could literally build themselves from raw materials in space. What had looked like a few dozen vessels an hour ago had become a fleet of thousands. But the real surprise came when the Draconians tried to attack. All ships fire at will, Admiral Vexithera ordered. The Draconian fleet opened fire with every weapon they had. Energy beams and projectile weapons filled the space between the two fleets. It should have been a devastating attack. Instead, the human ships simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were gone. The Draconian weapons struck empty space. Before the aliens could understand what had happened, the human ships reappeared, but now they were behind the Draconian fleet. Impossible, Vexithara screamed. No ship can move that fast. Captain Ariam Han's voice came over the communication channel from her command ship, the Busan Lightning. Admiral Vexithara, you are ordered to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in the disabling of your fleet. Never, the Draconian roared. All ships turn and engage. The alien fleet tried to rotate to face the humans, but they found that their ships would not respond. One by one, their engines shut down. Their weapons went offline. Their shields collapsed. In less than 5 minutes, 500 Draconian warships were floating helplessly in space. The same scene played out across the galaxy. Each alien battle group found themselves facing impossible numbers of human ships that could appear and disappear at will. The Iron Syndicate's fleet was disabled while trying to attack what they thought was a human supply base. The war clans discovered that their target was actually a human shipyard that built vessels faster than they could be destroyed. But the most shocking defeat came at the Galactic core, where the Zilani Empire's flagship Eternal Dominion led 1,000 ships in a direct assault on what they believed was humanity's secret headquarters. Fleet Admiral Donghae Seo was waiting for them. His ship, the New Soul, hung alone in space as the massive alien fleet approached. To the Zilani, it looked like one human vessel against 1,000. They could not have been more wrong. Admiral Zelkanor, Donghae said over the open communication channel, you have entered restricted space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Zilani admiral laughed. One ship against my entire fleet? Your arrogance will be your destruction. I am not alone, Donghae replied calmly. That was when the trap closed. All around the Zilani fleet, space itself seemed to tear open. Human ships poured through rifts in reality, emerging from hidden dimensions that the aliens did not know existed. Within seconds, the 1,000-ship Zilani fleet was surrounded by 5,000 human vessels. But Donghae was not finished. His voice carried across all frequencies, reaching every alien ship in the galaxy. To all species currently attacking human interests, he announced, you have two choices: surrender now and be treated with mercy, or continue fighting and be completely defeated. Choose wisely. Most alien commanders chose surrender. Their ships were disabled, but their crews were unharmed. They were given food, medical care, and safe passage home. The message was clear. Humanity was not interested in conquest or revenge. They simply would not allow aggression to succeed. Within 6 hours, the largest military alliance in galactic history had been completely defeated by an enemy they had underestimated. Not a single human life was lost in the fighting. Not a single alien ship was destroyed unless its crew refused to surrender. On Earth, President Neon received reports from across the galaxy. The aggressive empires had been humbled. The peaceful species were celebrating. The Galactic Council was in emergency session, trying to understand how everything had changed so quickly. "What are your orders?" asked General Minho Shin. Nyon looked at the galactic map, where green lights now marked human protection zones around every peaceful world. "We continue the mission. Protect the innocent, defend the peaceful, and show the galaxy that strength can be used for good." The age of human dominance had begun, but it would not be the dominance the aliens had feared. It would be something new, the dominance of justice over aggression, of protection over conquest, of hope over fear. Humanity had made their stand, and the galaxy would never be the same.